things look a little bit different. Yes, it's going to get a little bit brighter in here in a second, but from what you can probably tell from the thumbnail, I'm going to be lighting these candles, and I'll start doing that now. But I thought that we could just read some scary stories. It's been requested by a couple of you, and I know I always do true crimes, and of course I will do more, but I thought for the Halloween occasion we'll do something a little different. So I found some stories on the internet. I was going to do Reddit, but a lot of people have done like reading Reddit creepy stories, and I wouldn't want to just read the same stories or like basically create the same exact video. So speaking of that, I'm going to link a couple of channels that kind of inspired this video. Off the top of my head, people that have done like reading creepy stories are Tyson ASMR, 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 ASMR, who else? 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 ASMR, and there was another one. ASMR Zelda has done reading creepy stories, or I don't know if they were stories, it was like something like creepy things that kids say or something like that, and I know a lot of you on my channel like the whole creepy stories, creepy videos kind of thing. So if you like my true crime videos, you will love their videos too. So I will link them in the description, and if I think of anyone else, I will link them as well. This one is crackling a lot. I don't know if you can hear that. So these two green ones are like pine cone scent. They smell so good. Okay, but I am going to be reading off of my phone, and I feel like that's gonna slightly ruin the aesthetic, but I don't have another choice. It's also very windy outside. It's a very dreary, cloudy fall day. So you may hear leaves rustling and Maya snoring. Jeez. But hopefully the leaves rustling will add to the creepy fall vibes of this video. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I turned the gain down on my microphone a little bit because this one is like crackling like crazy. So hopefully that's not too annoying for you. But the first article that I found is called 13 Short Creepy Stories That Will Scare the Crap Out of You. And some of them are like super short, some of them are a little bit longer. I'm not going to read all of them because I saw a few that you have to like click a link and it'll bring you somewhere else. So I have this article and another one, so we have plenty to choose from. Okay. So the first one is called Mommy's Home, and it's really short. A father is laying in bed after just waking up. He grabs the baby monitor and walks to his desk in his office at home. He has his baby on the baby monitor and hears his wife singing to her. He cracks a smile as he hears his wife say, "Go to sleep, go to sleep," when suddenly the front door opens and his wife walks in with groceries. That one's not that good, in my opinion. The second one. A young boy is sleeping in his bed on a usual night. He hears footsteps outside his door and peeks out of his eyes to see what is happening. His door swings open quietly to reveal a murderer carrying the corpses of his parents. After silently propping them up on a chair, he writes something on the wall in the blood of the dead bodies. He then hides under the child's bed. The child is scared beyond belief. He can't read the writing on the wall, and he knows the man is under his bed. Like any child, he pretends that he slept through the whole thing and hasn't awoken yet. He lies still as the bodies, quietly hearing the breaths from under his bed. An hour passes, and his eyes are adjusting more and more to the darkness. He tries to make out the words, but it's a struggle. He gasps when he finally makes out the sentence, "I know you're awake." He feels something shift underneath his bed. Number 3. Mommy told me never to go in the basement, but I wanted to see what was making that noise. It kind of sounded like a puppy, and I wanted to see the puppy, so I opened the basement door and tiptoed down a bit. I didn't see a puppy, and then Mommy yanked me out of the basement and yelled at me. Mommy had never yelled at me before, and it made me sad, and I cried. Then Mommy told me never to go into the basement again, and she gave me a cookie. That made me feel better, so I didn't ask her why the boy in the basement was making noises like a puppy, or why he had no hands or feet. Okay, this one is like an Instagram post. It's not even number 4, but I'm gonna read it anyway, because I don't know what it is. I used to work weekend nights, and my wife would always be home alone with her car in the driveway. One particular Saturday, I was at work, and my wife happened to go out with her friend. Her friend picked her up, so her car was still in the driveway. When I got home at 1 a.m., the power to the house was out. I went to check the circuit breaker and saw that the padlock on it had been cut. I promptly went inside and called 911. Here is the conclusion I have come to, though I'm open to alternatives. Someone had been watching us for a while and knew our habits. That Saturday, they saw her car in the driveway and my car gone. They cut the lock and threw the circuit breaker. This would have baited her outside. She would have been outside with the front door unlocked and quite vulnerable. I bought a nice bottle of wine for her friend and a shotgun for the house. Okay. The next one is called 10. A man leaves his house every morning to walk to work and passes a mental hospital surrounded by a wooden fence. Every morning, the patients are out in the yard and he can hear them saying in unison, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. One day, he gets curious and looks through a hole in the fence. Suddenly, a stick shoots out and pokes him in the eye. Crap, he says to himself. While walking away, pissed off, he can hear the patient saying, 11, 11, 11, 11. That one is funny to me. Okay, the next one. When I was a child, my family moved to a big old 2-floor house with big empty rooms and creaking floorboards. Both my parents worked, so I was often alone when I came home from school. One early evening, when I came home, the house was dark. I called out Mom and heard her sing-song voice say yes from upstairs. I called her again as I climbed the stairs to see which room she was in, and again got the same yes reply. We were decorating at the time, and I didn't know my way around the maze of rooms, but she was in one of the far ones, right down the hall. I felt uneasy, but I figured that was only natural, so I rushed forward to see my mom, knowing that her presence would calm my fears, as a mother's presence always does. Just as I reached for the handle of the door to let myself into the room, I heard the front door downstairs open, and my mother call, "Sweetie, are you home?" in a cheery voice. I jumped back, startled, and ran down the stairs to her, but as I glanced back from the top of the stairs, the door to the room slowly opened a crack. For a brief moment, I saw something strange in there, and I didn't know what it was, but it was staring at me. Okay. I check into a small hotel a few kilometers from Kiev. It is late. I'm tired. I tell the woman at the desk I want a room. She tells me the room number and gives me a key. But one more thing, comrade. There is one room without a number and always locked. Don't even peek in there. I take the key and go to the room to sleep. Night comes and I hear the trickling of water. It comes from the room across. I cannot sleep, so I open the door. It is coming from the room with no number. I pound on the door. No response. I look in the keyhole. I see nothing except red. Water still trickling. I go down to the front desk to complain. By the way, who is in that room? She looks at me and begins to tell the story. There was a woman in there, murdered by her husband, skin all white, except her eyes, which were red. So that means that she was standing at the keyhole, and what he was seeing was her eye. Okay, the next one is super short. A woman survivalist and trained outdoor guide who loves to go solo camping. She returns home after 2 weeks of being in the bush and not seeing a single soul. She develops her disposable camera film to find a roll of film with numerous pictures of her sleeping at night on different nights. She has never gone camping or hiking since. Yikes. Okay, next. There was a story about how a guy was driving through the mountains and came across a crash. The car wasn't damaged at all and almost deliberately placed in the middle of the road. He drove past and saw 2 people lying in the road. He pulls up in front of the crash and then looks back to see the people sat up and 20 or so eyes reflecting in his taillights from the surrounding bushes. He slams on the gas and goes. This story scares me because this kind of thing does happen with mountain tribes who are either cannibalistic or crazy. Okay, and the last one for this article is called This Isn't a Story. This is me. I'm here. I'm shifting the words that you're reading, altering them from whatever this person wrote. I've been here for a while, for as long as you can remember anyway. Sometimes I say your name as you're falling asleep, or whisper urgently in your ear. Do you remember the time that I screamed, throwing panic through you and setting your heart racing? That was fun. You're wondering who I am. That's only natural. Of course, you already know. I'm you. I'm the real you. I'm the mind that existed here before you stole my body, before you forgot about being a parasite. I'm the child who looked the wrong way, asked the wrong question, saw the wrong thing, but I'm not so little anymore. You may have forgotten me, but I'm still here. I've always been here. I'm going to get out. Okay. Alright, let me go to the other article. Hopefully these are a little bit better than the last ones. Okay, the first one. We bought an old house, my boyfriend and I. He's in charge of the new construction, converting the kitchen into the master bedroom, for instance, while I'm on wallpaper removal duty. The previous owner papered every wall and ceiling. Removing it is brutal, but oddly satisfying. The best feeling is getting a long peel, similar to your skin when you're peeling from a sunburn. I don't know about you, but I kind of make a game of peeling, on the hunt for the longest piece before it rips. Under a corner section of paper in every room is a person's name and a date. Curiosity got the best of me one night when I googled one of the names and discovered the person was actually a missing person. The missing date matching the date under the wallpaper. The next day I made a list of all the names and dates. Sure enough, each name was for a missing person who dates to match. We notified the police, who naturally sent out the crime scene team. I overheard one text say, "Yup, it's human." Human? What's human? Ma'am, where is the material you removed from the walls already? This isn't wallpaper you're removing. Ew. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, the next one. I hate it when my brother Charlie has to go away. My parents constantly try to explain to me how sick he is, that I'm lucky for having a brain where all the chemicals flow properly to their destinations like undammed rivers. When I complain about how bored I am without a little brother to play with, they try to make me feel bad by pointing out that his boredom likely far surpasses mine, considering he's confined to a dark room in an institution. I always beg for them to give him one last chance. Of course, they did at first. Charlie has been back home several times, each shorter in duration than the last. Every time, without fail, it all starts again. The neighborhood cats with gouged out eyes showing up in his toy chest. My dad's razors found dropped on the baby slide in the park across the street. Mom's vitamins replaced by bits of dishwasher tablets. My parents are hesitant now, using last chances sparingly. They say his disorder makes him charming, makes it easy for him to fake normalcy, and to trick the doctors who care for him into thinking that he's ready for rehabilitation. That I will just have to put up with my boredom if it means staying safe from him. I hate it when Charlie has to go away. It makes me have to pretend to be good until he's back. Next. He awoke to the huge insect-like creatures looming over his bed and screamed his lungs out. They hastily left the room, and he stayed up all night, shaking and wondering if it had been a dream. The next morning, there was a tap on the door. Gathering his courage, he opened it to see one of them gently place a plate filled with fried breakfast on the floor, then retreat to a safe distance. Bewildered, he accepted the gift. The creatures chittered excitingly. This happened every day for weeks. At first, he was worried they were fattening him up, but after a particularly greasy breakfast left him clutching his chest from heartburn, they were replaced with fresh fruit. As well as cooking, they poured hot, steamy baths for him and even tucked him in when he went to bed. It was bizarre. One night, he awoke to gunshots and screaming. He raced downstairs to find a decapitated burglar being devoured by the insects. He was sickened, but disposed of the remains as best he could. He knew they just had been protecting him. One morning, the creatures wouldn't let him leave his room. He lay down, confused but trusting, as they ushered him back into bed. Whatever their motives, they weren't going to hurt him. Hours later, a burning pain spread throughout his body. It felt like his stomach was filled with razor wire. The insects chittered as they spasmed and moaned. It was only when he felt a terrible squirming feeling beneath his skin that he realized the insects hadn't been protecting him. They had been protecting their young. Gross. Okay. Everyone loves the first day of school. New year, new classes, new friends. It's a day full of potential and hope before all the dreary depressions of reality show up to ruin all the fun. I like the first day of school for a different reason, though. You see, I have a sort of power. When I look at people, I can sense a sort of aura around them, a colored outline based on how long that person has to live. Most everyone I meet around my age is surrounded by a solid green hue, which means they have plenty of time left. A fair amount of them have a yellow-orangish tinge to their auras, which tends to mean a car crash or some other tragedy. Anything that takes people before their time, as they say. The real fun is when the auras venture into the red end of the spectrum, though. Every now and again, I'll see someone who's basically a walking stoplight. Those are the ones who get murdered or kill themselves. It's such a rush to see them and know their time is numbered. With that in mind, I always get to class very early so I can scout out my classmates' fates. The first kid who walked in was basically radiating red. I chuckled to myself, too damn bad, bro. But as people kept walking in, they all had the same intense glow. I finally caught a glimpse of my rose-tinted reflection in the window, but I was too stunned to move. Our professor stepped in and locked the door, his aura a sickening shade of green. Okay, next. It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with, so $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple. Just reach the top floor, the 45th floor, shine my flashlight from a window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator, so that meant hiking up the stairs. So up the stairs I went. As I reached each platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers: 15, 16, 17, 18. I felt a little tired as I crept higher, but so far, no ghosts, no cannibals, no demons. Piece of cake. I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered that last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted them aloud at each platform: 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44. I stopped and looked back down the stairs. I must have miscounted, so I continued up. 44. One more flight. 44. Then down 10 flights. 44. 15 flights. 44. And so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never ever change, that each door leads to the same staircase, to the same number. It's realizing you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you've been running for days or weeks or years. It's when the sobbing slowly turns into laughter. Next. My daughter woke me up around 11:50 last night. My wife and I had picked her up from her friend Sally's birthday party, brought her home, and put her to bed. My wife went into the bedroom to read while I fell asleep watching the Braves game. "Daddy," she whispered, tugging my shirt sleeve, "guess how old I'm gonna be next month?" "I don't know, beauty," I said as I slipped on my glasses. "How old?" She smiled and held up 4 fingers. "It is 7:30 now. My wife and I have been up with her for almost 8 hours. She still refuses to tell us where she got them." "What?" "How old?" She smiled and held up 4 fingers. "It's 7:30 now. My wife and I have been up with her for almost 8 hours. She refuses to tell us where she got them." What am I missing here? Can someone explain that one to me? That was weird. I don't know. Okay, let's read one more. Let's just do this one. It was 1 a.m. and Guy Halverson sat in his dark living room. He hadn't moved for over an hour. The accident earlier that evening kept playing over and over in his mind. The light turned red, but he was in a hurry and accelerated. An orange blur came from his right, and in a split second there was a violent jolt. Then the bicyclist rolled across his hood and fell out of sight on the pavement. Horns blared angrily, and he panicked, stepping on the gas and screeching away from the chaos into the darkness, shaken and keeping an eye on his rearview mirror until he got home. Why did you run, you idiot? He'd never committed a crime before this, and punished himself by imagining years in jail. His career gone, his family gone, his future gone. Why not just go to the police right now? You can afford a lawyer. Then someone tapped on the front door, and his world suddenly crumbled away beneath him. They found me. There was nothing he could do but answer it. Running would only make matters worse. His body trembling, he got up and went to the door and opened it. A police officer stood under the porch light. "Mr. Halverson?" asked the grim officer. He let out a defeated sigh. "Yes, let me. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I have some bad news. Your son's bike was struck by a hit-and-run driver this evening. He died at the scene. I'm very sorry for your loss." That's not even scary, that's just messed up. Okay, but to finish this video off, I'm going to share a story that one of my friends told me years ago, and it's one of my favorite scary stories. So, a woman gets into her car late at night. She was leaving somewhere, it's not important. She goes to her car, gets in, starts driving. The car behind her starts flashing their headbeams at her. And she's very confused because she doesn't understand why they would do that, because she didn't do anything wrong. So, a So finally she has enough and she pulls over, and the person behind her pulls over with her. She gets out of her car and walks over to the other person's car and says, "Why do you keep flashing your high beams at me?" And they said, "I'm sorry, but every time I flashed my head beams, the person in the back seat with the knife would put the knife down." So I will leave you with that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope the fire crackling wasn't too much, but maybe like a lot of people like that. So hopefully that doesn't sound too bad when I edit it. But thank you guys so much for watching. For those of you that do celebrate Halloween and you will be out, please be safe